Level up with the new AAA Commanders MVP membership. Get all the benefits of AAA plus exclusive experiences, discounts, and tickets. Already a AAA member? Upgrade for free or join today at AAA.com/Commanders. Hello and welcome to my podcast. Do me a favor, subscribe to the John Keim Report wherever you get your podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. You can find us there as part of Ampire Media, Ampire. Always much appreciated when you tune in. Don't forget you can read my work on ESPN.com. For you club members, you gold members, I'll be doing a private Zoom Friday night, 7:30 Eastern time. This is another crazy week because it's a Monday night week, so our Fridays are more like their Thursdays, so it just kind of gets a little bit discombobulated in your brain, but going to be doing the private Zooms Friday night, 7:30 Eastern time. So join me there. And then for all the rest of you club members, I am available 3 hours before kickoff in a private chat before the game. So join me there. If you want to become a club member, go to the Empire Media YouTube page on your laptop, see the word join, click on that, go from there. By the way, if you're watching on YouTube, you see my background. I am in the quote unquote hostage room out at the Commander's facility. Not a lot of background stuff here, so that's why you're seeing this. But today I'm going to be joined by former Washington Redskin coach Jay Gruden. So I wanted to talk to Jay, and I always appreciate his insight. And he is a very smart offensive guy. Knows a lot about the game and also what coaches go through during a situation like this. So with all these injuries, et cetera, and what does he think about what he sees both from on offense and on defense? And I think there's some things that, might surprise you, some things that you're going to be shaking your head in agreement with. So stay tuned for that with Jay for a minute, or in a minute, I'll get to Jay. For a couple things first, let's start with injuries. So the good news is finally some good news for health with Washington. Deebo Samuel, Terry McLaurin, both practiced in full. It's the first time they've both been on the field together practicing in full since September 19th. You want to know what's wrong with the offense, folks? There it is right there. So the fact that they're going to get them back, or they're on pace to get them back, is a very good thing. And for Marcus Mariota, of course, it's a very good thing for him as well. So that was good news. Now, Sam Cosmi just came back. He sat out practice today with a sore back. Can't be all that surprised. Like when you haven't gone and hit anybody for since January, you're going to be sore after the game. So this is something that's just to kind of get him back into it, right? So I'm not all that worried about it at this point for sure. And I don't know the extent of it, but I'll just say this. It's kind of logical that he would have some sort of soreness like this that's the first contact he's had real contact since he was hurt in the Lions game in the division round. So, we'll see on Thursday. Excuse me, we're going to see on Thursday. We'll see on Friday with practice there what transpires with him. But anyways, not surprised that he may have some of that soreness, and we'll see if it's more than that. If not, then we'll see. So one thing that was talked about too is, Dan Quinn said he would look at everything about changes on defense. There's not going to be some big changes, right? There's not going to be they're not benching guys, they're not switching guys around. It sounds like a lot of the changes are going to be subtle, maybe subtle to the naked eye, I guess, but maybe some stylistically things like some plays that Quinn said that they kind of want to get rid of because maybe they're not playing them that well. And the goal is, as he said, to get them to play faster. And that's always the goal. And, they haven't been playing like that. Now, there's a lot of reasons for things, right? Could we see some different coverages, perhaps, or maybe less of one thing than another? I don't know exactly. They're not going to exactly say what they're going to do right now, but that seems to be what's going to take place is, you're going to see a little bit of differences, maybe, again, not lineup changes, but maybe stylistic changes. And they go out of their way to not say simplifying things and they're not going to use that word because it makes it sound like they're making it basic. I don't think they're doing that. I think they're taking some things out that maybe were not working as well in terms of just play calls and things that they weren't doing. And so, so I think those are some of the changes of people waiting for bigger changes. I don't think you've been paying attention to this group and how they operate. And I also don't think this is not a time for decisions where you go and people were calling for Joe Witt when they were 3-2. Clearly not a rational decision to do that for an organization. From a fan, you can say whatever you want. But if you start operating like that, then you're going to go down a wrong path as an organization after the season, whatever. That's different. But right now, you're going to try and you're going to try and take all these steps before you get to other steps for sure. And right now, the step is Quinn certainly huddled with the defensive coaches. I don't know that it was necessarily more or less than it has been, but they certainly went over a lot of things Monday night to come up with and I think they went back and he went back and looked at the first 7 games more to see like what needs to take place here, what needs to be done. And so I think that's where we're at with that. So we'll see how what it looks like Monday, and it may not be good enough against the Chiefs. We'll see. I will say, like, one thing when you're around these players, like there's a couple things I sense. Some guys are still pissed off about what's going on, and in that, like, they don't, with how they're playing, and it's they put it on themselves. And you talk to guys who've been around that, like, they look at this and say, okay, in the past, guys would have been starting to point fingers, and they don't feel like that's happening at all. So that their job is like, hey, we have to go out and make plays, and we're not doing that. So the guys that I talk to are kind of putting it on themselves, first and foremost. Now, they've got to play better, and they all know it. So I think there's some guys who are frustrated, dumbfounded, and ticked off about what's going on. And that's a good sign because that means there's life. Whether or not it transfers to the field, we'll see. But I also think, like, for when you start looking down the road, they know they're getting offensive guys back. Like, the organization knows, like, okay, you're getting Deebo and Terry back. And, they hope that next week Jaden Daniels is back as well. So now you're getting your full offense, and now you have a shot. And talking to other people, like, hey, you got, with those guys out there, you got a shot in every game. Like, and this is something that I asked Jay Gruden about too. So you'll hear what he has to say about that and what the approach is, the mental approach is going forward. Because once you get those guys out there again, you now have a chance to be in every game, just like last year. And whether or not you win could come down to the last series, as it often did last year. So putting themselves in a bad spot for sure. But anyways, folks, you'll hear that. But Jay talked a lot about that as well. And so but I did want to bring that up with you guys, and just because I think it's about a mindset here. And again, like, there have been other years where this thing would have gone really south because of the kind of locker room they had or the kind of leadership they had in the organization. And I think right now, I don't sense it like that. Now, on the field, it might get like that, but in the locker room, it's not there. So, um, and again, I think getting Terry and Deebo back makes a big difference, especially on offense. It gives you a chance. Now, what that does Monday night, we'll see. I think Mariota is a good one to have out there in this situation, but to me, it starts with playing well. Like, they haven't had a lot of games where this year it's like they just played well, right? They need, cut down on the penalties, get some turnovers, control the ball, like things like that, and just let it up against a good team. Like, to do it against the Raiders, okay. Do it against the Giants with Russell Wilson, okay. That's what you should do, right? But they need to play well against a better team, and that has not happened. So that's, I mean, shoot, we're sitting here talking about, and like, 1 or 2 plays go different in the Bears game. They're 4-3, but those 1 or 2 plays did not go different, and that's why they're 3-4. So, anyways, and the Chargers was a good win. I don't want to take that away because they came through in the second half for sure. And once, Quan Martin turned around the turnover. So you need to start getting more of those, and they're just not. So to me, on defense, a lot of it starts with how can you create more turnovers, because if you don't, it's going to be a long year, because I just don't know. And again, you'll hear Jay talk about the personnel, like, not very impressed with it overall. So that's something that, but that's not something that's going to improve right now. Even if you shuffle around the deck chair, so to speak, you're not improving a whole lot. Like, there needs to be, so really it starts like, can you make more plays? Because if you can't, I think it's still going to be a struggle. But that's where you have to get more help from the offense as these guys get healthier and healthier. And then, Mariota has played well, but this is a very, very good defense we'll be facing Monday night. And I'll get into more of that defense when I have my 5 thoughts. So, all right, folks, I'm done rambling. You want to hear Jay Gruden, so do I. So let's get to my conversation with former Washington Redskin head coach Jay Gruden. Commanders fans, this is for you. Level up with the brand new AAA Commanders MVP membership. You'll receive all the benefits of AAA, such as 24/7 roadside assistance, plus chances to win game tickets, access to exclusive team events and experiences, along with 15% off Commanders gear at the online pro shop. Already a AAA member? Add the Commanders MVP membership for free. Head to AAA.com/Commanders to upgrade or join the squad and put your fandom in drive. I don't like eating out a lot on the road, especially for breakfast. That's why I bring my Huel Black Edition powder with me on the road. It fills me up and I'm ready to go. I've cut down on what I eat in the morning. I've even lost a few pounds. Each meal has 40 grams of protein, 6 grams of fiber, 27 essential vitamins and minerals. There's no added sugar, it's gluten-free, and it can cost as little as less than $3 per meal, and it's ready in 60 seconds. And now Huel just dropped a first-of-its-kind Super Greens drink in a can. It's called the Huel Daily Greens Ready to Drink. It was developed by registered nutritionists and dietitians and contains 42 vitamins, minerals, and superfoods, yet there's only 25 calories. It also has 4 grams of fiber and only 1 gram of sugar. If you're busy, focused on fitness, Huel can be a big help. Huel makes healthy eating simple. They also just launched into Target stores nationwide. Try both products today with 15% off your purchase for new customers with my exclusive code Keim at www.huel.com/Keim. Use my code and fill out the post-checkout survey to help to support the show. Cheers. All right, Jay, first of all, always good to see you. Secondly, this team is banged up, and now Jane's going to miss another game. When you look at the toll, the injuries, I know like coaches, they try to refrain from using that as an excuse. What is the toll that it takes, though, when you see the guys that have been out for them?
Well, it does take its toll because you want to put your best team on the field every Sunday, and when you can't do that, it's very frustrating as a play caller, as a coach. Obviously, I went through it quite a bit in my time, but that's the way football is, and that's why you prepare in the off season and training camp to try to get other guys ready because you kind of know in the back of your mind it's going to happen to your left tackle, your starting guard, your defensive tackle, your quarterback possibly. So you got to get your backups ready to play, and when they're thrust on the scene, they better be ready and better be prepared.
You had it too with Jordan Reed, obviously. And so these guys have had it with Terry, Deebo last week, Noah Brown. Are there certain spots where it's like, yeah, it's the next man up, but who is that next guy up to replace a guy like that?
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's why your scouting staff has to be really prepared for moments like this when you lose your starting two
Mm.
receivers. Your starting quarterback. We lost Alex and then Colt, and then
Yeah.
we went through the whole rigmarole for a long time. We lost Trent. He didn't show up. We had to go get a 37-year-old Donald Penn off the street. So yeah, you just have to be continuously working in the front office for moments like this. Hey, if we lose our starting two receivers, what are we going to do? Who are we going to go get? What free agent is out there? Is there a veteran guy we can go get that can add some juice to our lineup or a rookie practice squad guy? Will he be ready? So, yeah, there's a lot of situations you have to be prepared for. It's unfortunate, but that's pro football. There's a lot of teams going through it.
Absolutely. And that's so what separates? Because like you're right, like Detroit, their defense last year was hit hard and they still make the playoffs. The Niners have been dealing with it. When you look at the teams that do well in those situations, is what do you see? Like why do some do well in that?
I don't know. I think it's more personnel related, coach related. Coaches do a good job of getting their team ready to go and adjusting to the new people that they have playing. Sometimes it's position, maybe starting cornerback isn't as bad as a starting
Yeah.
quarterback, or
Right,
something like
right,
that.
right,
So,
right.
and sometimes backups are more ready to play and they play better than other backups in the league. So there's a lot of reasons for why teams do better when situations like this happen, and some teams do worse. You look at Cincinnati, what they did. They are struggling with their backup quarterback. They go get a veteran Joe Flacco and they beat Pittsburgh.
Right.
So see how they can maintain that without Joe Burrow. So there's just, it's personnel related and how the coaches handle it.
Then with Terry, for example, him missing that time in camp and then missing all this time, you know, how hard is it to get a rhythm as an offense when you have that? And then Jaden is now going to miss his third game. But like, how hard is it to find a rhythm? And When you lose a guy like Terry, what's the impact?
Well, he's your number one guy. He's the guy that
Right.
takes the top off. He's a good leader for your football team and a security blanket for your quarterbacks, and that's a big hit, and you're when you lose your number one receiver. Not many teams have more than one. Some teams have two. Some teams maybe have two and a half. But when you lose your number one receiver, who's your go-to guy now? He's the guy that runs deep, makes the big plays. Now, who's going to make that big play for you? That's what they have to find out. Is it going to be Chris Moore? Is it going to be Lad or McConkey or McCaffrey? I
McCaffrey.
mean, so those guys have to step up and make plays in his absence. And when Terry does come back, he better knock your socks off and be ready to go.
When you have like in his situation, he held out all of camp or held in, whatever you want to call it. And I know that he and Jaden built up a lot of stuff last year. How long does it take? Can it take to get that back? And when he misses this time, combined with that, can that take a few weeks to get it back to where you need it to be with him?
It shouldn't be. The biggest issue I see for them moving forward is who's going to win in tight man-to-man coverage on third and
Right.
6 and 7. You know what I mean? Who are you going to go to, Jaden? Usually he'll have a man-to-man single high safety. I'm going to work Terry's matchup, or I'm going to work maybe Deebo in the slot or whatever. They're both gone. Now who am I going to work? That happened against the Cowboys a few times. I noticed, man-to-man coverage, there's nobody open.
Right.
Zach Ertz is really not that get open, separate type of guy. Somebody needs to step up and make sure they have a comfort level of getting open and getting some separation for Marcus or Jaden, whoever's playing.
And then obviously, like you said, like teams have been playing a lot more man the last couple of weeks. Impact on the run game.
Yeah, that hurts too. Now teams aren't scared of the run. They can add another guy to the box and hey, have at it. Go ahead, work our corners with these receivers you guys have. You guys don't have any, so we're going to load up, stop the run, make sure Bill doesn't hurt us in the running game or Chris, and we're going to make you throw the ball. And right now, the options are pretty thin for Washington throwing the football. That's the issue. I
And
don't think Kansas City is going to be really playing a whole lot of two deep because they're scared of any of the receivers beating them deep. I think McDuffie will be just fine at corner cover whoever they throw out there.
and they will play a good mix of man and zone too. Like
Yeah.
what do you think about their defense? Like why it's been pretty consistent for a while.
Well, they have stars in the right spot. Chris Jones is a nightmare. Karlaftis is a good player, and obviously McDuffie's a premier corner, can match up with anybody, and they have a good scheme. Spagnuolo is the best defensive coordinator there is out there, and he can get after you. He can play zone. He can mix it up pretty well, and they're well coached, and they don't miss a lot of tackles. You know what I mean? The good defenses, the well coached defenses, they run to the ball. They have great pursuit angles. They don't miss tackles, and they don't give up a lot of big plays. They make you earn every blade of grass, and that's what Kansas City does.
What in your experience, when you've gone up against guys, what makes a good with Spags, best defensive, what makes a good defensive coordinator, you think?
His ability to change things up, unpredictable, protections, he has empty automatics. He has four weak, four strong. He has back double A blitzes. He can play three-man rushes, four-man rushes, and they're just sound in what they do. You can't really find a lot of big holes in their defense. Say, okay, we're going to throw this concept out there. We're going to attack this type of defense because he changes it up quite a bit, and he does a good job. And he has good players too. Let's not get it
Right,
let's
right.
not get it
That
mixed up. His
helps.
players play good and they play hard for him, and they're well coached. That's tough. He didn't reinvent the wheel. Now he just plays good sound coverages, and the guys play hard for him.
Right. And so when you look at Washington's defense, obviously they've had some issues. What do you see when you look at them?
Well, their personnel is not very good. There's a lot of holes in their defense. They don't have any premier pass rushers. They don't have any guys that can get after the quarterback on third and eight with a four-man rush. Like, who's it going to be? They got to work on the stunts. They got to do. They get home with good TE stunts and TTE stunts and all that stuff. Good movement. They don't have any individuals that can really win one-on-one battles. So that's the biggest issue they have up front. And then the linebacking core is just not very fast. You know what I mean? Bobby's a hell of a player, Hall of Fame player, great in between the tackle area boxes, but when you get him out in space on running backs and wide receivers in the slot, whatever, he struggles to eat up space. Same with Frankie. And then the safety play has just been very, very poor, in my opinion. And obviously, Lattimore has been targeted a lot and hasn't made the plays he needs to make. Too many penalties. And obviously, Amos is young and working through some things. And they just don't have any star power on defense that they can rely on that can make the play in critical situations
So
other
what do
than
you
Bobby. Bobby's a great guy that can hopefully jar a ball loose or lead the football team to do the right things. But star power wise, they just don't have it.
so what do you do then? Like, because that's been the big topic this week. And I know, I think, I'm sure Dan is getting more involved with whatever. as a head coach and you see the unit struggling, what do you do and how can you maybe, I don't know that you can make it improve drastically, but can you make it, how can you make it better?
Well, they've done good things on defense this year at certain times. They play their best defense when they're hustling and moving around and moving the front and creating havoc for the offense. Obviously, the offense can do a better job of maintaining possession of the
Yeah.
football to keep their defense fresh. But when Washington gets in trouble, they're A, giving up big plays, or B, they're on the field for a long time, not getting off the field on third down. It's very simple. When they get worn down, Washington's defense is atrocious because they don't have, like I said, they got to be at full speed, pursuing to the football 100 miles an hour on every snap. Otherwise, they'll get gutted. And that's what happens when they get tired. They get gutted. So they got to make sure they have good rotations, keep people fresh, mix things up, which I know Coach Quinn does coverage wise, and then have some good blitzes from time to time to try to get the ball back.
And obviously, there's, for fans, as they want, anytime there's unit struggling, they want the coach out, right? So when you look at this defense, though, do you see it as like, is there something Joe Witt can do better? Is there, or do how do you look at it and say it's a scheme, it's a personnel, it's a coaching issue? How do you
Well, they could
parse
have
it
done
out?
something better in the offseason, in my opinion. They didn't even go out and get a pass rush. They went out and got 58-year-old Von Miller. That's it. They had a chance to draft the guy in the first round and take this right tackle who's not very good. So they didn't address the need, in my opinion, well enough in the offseason to fix the issues, especially up front in the front seven area. They went and got Lattimore last year, which is okay, but they just need to get better players. And these players that are playing right now, Amos has got to step up and be a better player. Sainsbury's got to continue to get better. The safeties have got to play better. They got to tackle better. When the ball's in the air, they got to make sure they get the ball out and make the tackles they need to make. And obviously, the pass rush, they got to figure out ways to get to the quarterback, whether it's that Jacob guy or now that, whoever they have out there. Somebody's got to get home. And if not, Patrick Mahomes will be back there dancing around, and Kelsey will find his third, fourth, fifth window. They'll get Rasheed Rice out there. I mean, they're going to get crushed. So they got to get pressure on Patrick somehow. 4-man, 5-man, 6-man, 8-man. I don't know. That's what they got to figure out defensively, how they're going to get pressure on Patrick.
And how hard is it to make like big changes for defense? Is it more simplifying? Is it cutting things out? Like, what would your approach
Yeah,
be?
from a scheme standpoint, I think they do a pretty good job. They just got to figure out more timely blitzes or something like that to try to create turnovers. That's what they're not getting.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
defense has to rely on hustling and creating turnovers, getting the ball out more than two hats on the ball, three hats. Let's get the ball out, punch it out, figure out ways to affect the quarterback so he throws the ball into coverage and changing what they do. It's not rocket science. It's rocket science. Somebody's got to step up and start making plays for this defense. It's not about the play calls. It's about the plays, the players. They got to step up and start making some plays together. Bobby's got to lead the group and say, "Hey, man, enough's enough. We got to get going. We're 3-3, or this is crunch time. We're playing Monday Night Football against the best team in pro football. We got to step up and show what we got."
Commanders fans, this is for you. Level up with the brand new AAA Commanders MVP membership. You'll receive all the benefits of AAA, such as 24/7 roadside assistance, plus chances to win game tickets, access to exclusive team events and experiences, along with 15% off Commanders gear at the online pro shop. Already a AAA member? Add the Commanders MVP membership for free. Head to AAA.com/Commanders to upgrade or join the squad and put your fandom in drive. And when you, as a coach, like you always want to think like you've always got a chance, right? And I know the one year was really difficult because all the quarterback changes. But does it reach a point in the year where you kind of think like maybe it's just not this year? Or can you ever allow yourself to think like that?
No, I don't think so. I think you always have a chance when you have Jaden Daniels as your quarterback. So you just got to make sure you try to right the ship a little bit here, get Jaden back, get Terry back, get Deebo back, and then you can make your mid to late season run. And hopefully you're still in it, which they will be. Pro football is pretty competitive right now. There's not really many teams starting to pull away from the field, so they're going to be in it in the next couple of weeks. But these next 2 or 3 weeks is about making sure you got the right people on board to finish that late stretch run. When Jaden gets back healthy, Terry gets back, Deebo, those guys get back, they'll be fine. They're still going to be competitive and be in the mix for a wild card or winning the division. They just got to right the ship right now on defense and make sure they get together.
What have you thought about Jane? Because again, the in and out and the pass game is it's funny because like even with the injuries, the offense has still scored pretty well. Now Dallas they could have moved it a lot better, but What have
Yeah,
you
I mean
thought of
Dallas.
him?
There's 20 to 15. They're going to go in at
Yeah,
halftime, and they got the ball coming out. And they
right,
give up a
right.
three play 80-yard drive, which
Yeah,
is sickening. And then Jane gets hurt on the next play, and they go down a score, and they throw a pick six, and it's game's over. So they were still right there with it
right.
at Dallas without anybody on offense. You know what I mean? So now when they get the people back on offense, I think they'll be a lot better. And I think the offensive line playing together. Hopefully, Josh starts playing better at right tackle. That's the biggest concern I have. He's
Yeah.
getting run around like a turnstile every week. But they still have great opportunity because they have a trained killer at the quarterback position, and yeah, once they get everybody back, they'll be fine.
And that's what I say, like what because obviously everybody talks about, and I don't know that really anybody's looking at him as having a quote unquote sophomore slump because you look at the injuries and the impact on that, and when he's out there, like there's so much on him. But how
So
like
much.
what's that?
So much. Yeah.
So much. So
Yeah.
what yeah,
Okay, here you go. Here's Chris Moore. Here's McCaffrey. Here's a seventh round draft pick at running back. Here's your rookie right tackle. Go out and win this game, Jaden. He's damn near does it. He's an incredible guy. Once he gets some people around him that can make some plays, last year you noticed there's a lot of, maybe a short pass of Terry takes it 80 yards against the Lions. You know what I mean? They need some of that big play opportunities where they're not having to drive the ball 18 plays, 80 yards every time with the short dink and dunks and all that. They just need to get some big plays. And once they get some big plays going, then teams will start playing cover two. Then the zone reads and the quarterback runs will start to hit a lot more because the boxes will be lighter. So there's still a lot out there for this offense to get once they get their guys back, and they'll get the ball if the defense gets some stops, and it'll be fine.
do you like the rookie running back, Bill?
I think I'm all right. Yeah, I wasn't quite comparing him to LaDainian Tomlinson after his one good game, but he's got a long way. He's got to protect the damn football, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I think when they play big people, they bring in Trent and play a big tight end position. I think I like Rodriguez better between the tackles. But this guy does have some juice. He's pretty exciting.
How do you, and that's the other thing too, like with some of those formations, like Trent Scott comes in, like you said, the big tackle, right? I think it's like I had the stat, it's like 53 runs, 8 passes when he's in there. How aware are you of that? And at what point does it not matter if like I know they know we're going to run the ball, but we're still going to do it anyway?
Yes. Well, you have to understand they're probably going to bring extra people up there because that's one less guy in the pass route that they have to deal with. So, but sometimes the physicality of that, you want to make sure you just try to get big people on big people and try to just get movement and let the running backs find a seam, try to get 4 or 5 yards, and that's a good thing. That will open up play passes because a lot of times when you do a max protection play pass, the tight end's got to stay in a block anyway. Now you got a good pass protector doing it, so you still get the three level throws that are pretty effective if Cliff wants to utilize that, which I'm sure he will. So, but I like the theory of that, especially if your tight end isn't very good at the point of attack. Sometimes you have to do that to try to get some runs going.
Do you look at their, because again, I say this and I know exactly who they're throwing to and I know the injuries and all that. But when you look at their offense, is there anything else that you could do maybe a little bit better, even with all that, to offset some of that? Or is it just like, hey, you need guys back to loosen that box?
Yeah, I think without the big play strike ability, big play receiver right now, I think a lot more of Trent Scott would be good to try to hold possession of the football and then try to get in 3rd and 3 or 4 because Mariota and Washington's offense the last couple of years with Cliff has been really, really good on 3rd and 3,
Yeah,
3rd and 5. It's been pretty poor on 3rd and 8 plus, which most teams are. I mean,
right.
it's a very hard down. But if you can run between the tackles, gain 3, gain 4, get to 3rd and 3, then obviously Mariota can use his legs and they get the short passes going or the RPOs and still run the clock. I think the goal of this offense might be more, hey, let's try to win the time of possession battle, not turn the ball over and give our defense a blow and try to win this game 17-14 if you can. If you want to try to get in a shootout, maybe you go more Newton, no huddle, go spread the Chiefs out
Right.
and try to do the best you can throwing the football. But I think they're best suited to try to keep Patrick Mahomes on the sideline and try to wear people out up front.
Does it matter under center, pistol, gun? Does that matter to you?
Yeah, I like under center, especially if you're going to try to run the ball because of the bootlegs. And Marcus is very good with the quarterback bootlegs and the rollouts and all that stuff. So I would prefer that a little bit more. And backs like it a lot more because they can get the ball downhill and they can kind of see the 1 step, 2 step, 3 step cuts a little bit better than coming out of the shotgun.
Okay.
It's a little bit more difficult for them. So yeah, there's a lot of benefits of being under center. It's not a make or break success of an offense because I know Cliff is they're very shotgun
Yeah.
they're probably 90% shotgun,
Yeah,
if not 100, close to it. So
close to it.
it's the coach's preference, but I do think there is a time and a place for under center football because there are some good plays and backs love it, being behind the quarterback and seeing the whole front.
And again, like they have had a good offense doing what they're doing. And it's not,
Yeah,
I don't look at this as like, oh my God, the scheme suddenly doesn't work. It's like, well, it looks a lot better when Jaden's out there throwing to Terry, throwing to Deebo,
for sure.
and Eckler. Like that was a big loss too. But so it just looks better. As a head coach, when you start to have this amount of injuries, and again, like you want to tell your team, we still got a chance, but in your private moments, how much does it wear on you?
It wears on you a lot because this is not what you signed up for, who you signed up with. I signed up with Trent Williams. I tried Darius Geis, and obviously these guys, and Alex Smith or Colt McCoy and Jordan Reed, or the center Chase Really. These guys are all out, and Reuben Foster out. I mean, they're it's just now you're putting guys out there. You got to put tape on their helmet to find out who they are. Week 4. So it's a brutal business when this happens because you want to go out with your hired guns, that's for sure. And when they're not available, now you got pea shooters out there. It's a lot more difficult. You got to try to just try to just hold on to for dear life and hope to goodness your good players come back where you can make a run. Like I said, try to steal a game or two, like we did at Seattle that one year with all
Yeah.
the guys hurt. You
Oh,
just got to try to steal a game or two and wait for the big fellas to come back.
I think that Seattle game, you had guys who were active who were not able to play because you had too many, like everybody on the inactive list was hurt, and you had like 3 guys who were hurt who
Yeah.
had to be active because you couldn't put them
And we
anywhere. And I
had to
think,
call in Ari Kwanjo from somebody's practice
yeah,
squad. We were teaching a snap count on Thursday for a game on Sunday in a National Football League. So yeah, it was tough,
and
man.
you won.
Yeah, we won. So yeah, there's way you just gotta defense played really good, like I said, and we ran the ball a little bit. We made a couple big plays in the passing game to Quick and to Josh, and we had a big hit and running game, and we got the hell out of there. We took a shower, said, "Let's get the hell out of here, boys, before we have to play this game again." So,
No,
so
but
there's
yeah.
yeah, there's possibility. You just got to try to, you're going to have to win a close game. Hopefully, not turn a ball over. Make sure you play clean football. We got to eliminate these penalties. Lattimore's got to quit getting these PIs and these false starts and all that stuff. And if you do that and make Kansas City earn it, Patrick might turn the ball over from time to time. It's unlikely. He doesn't turn the ball over
Right.
very often, but you never know.
You never know. And with Lattimore, because again, he's another guy and he hasn't done what they had hoped he would do. As an offensive guy, like what do you see in him as a corner? Like what doesn't go right? Because like some of those plays, he's kind of right there, and then
He
it's
is.
not turning around or whatever. Like what do you think?
Yeah, the first PI I thought was a bad call. I think he is a good position. The ball was underthrown, and he tried to get his head back, and that's a really tough place for a DB. But still, I think if I was an offensive coordinator, I'd make sure we took at least 4 shots a game against him down the field. Incomplete or interference or caught. It's going to be either interference or caught. In
Right.
my opinion, like the end of the half play was just absolute ridiculous to have second and 17 with 25 seconds to go in a half to give up a 45-yard catch to Pickens. You know what I mean? This guy's the best 50-50 catcher
Yeah.
in the world, and we're going to play tight coverage. Just play off, let him catch a hitch.
Well,
So he's got to play smarter, obviously, but he's a good player. He's still right there, like you said. I think he's going to have a tough challenge. They're going to go after him. You saw Rasheed Rice catch a back shoulder fade in the red zone. They're going to go after him. I promise you that. They're going to.
did
Well,
they
actually, I don't know who they're going to go after because Amos. They might go after him too, the rookie. So I don't know. They're going to have their pick.
can you play more zone? Would that help? I mean, at some point, even a
Got
zone
to
turns
challenge
into
them, man. You got
man.
to let these guys play, and
Yeah.
hope to goodness they step up and play. Lattimore's played a lot of football and he's covered really good people in his career. I think he's going to be okay. It's just get off the penalties, man. Get off the penalties.
It's it's brutal. All right, Jay. Well, I appreciate your time, man. Always enjoy it. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks, John.
That's it for this episode. Thanks to Jay for joining me, and thank you, as always, for tuning in. I'll be back Saturday night, Sunday morning with my 5 thoughts as the Commanders, they'll wrap up their practice for the week on Saturday, have a little walkthrough on Sunday that we don't go to, but we'll be there on Saturday. We'll get full updates on injuries, Deebo and Terry. I'm sure at that point, as long as they continue to practice week, they'll be playing on Monday. Thanks a lot, and I'll talk to you next time.